When it comes to these disaccharides, when it comes to these monosaccharides, we can use them to sweeten up stuff that we consume. Fantastic. I mean, who loves to eat Cheerios by themselves? My oldest, and that's probably about it. I can't do it. I have to have something on it to make that palatable for me. Okay. So we can use various different types of sweeteners. And we have two basic types. We have three, I guess, if you want to break it down. We have nutritive sweeteners, we have alternative sweeteners, and we have non-nutritive sweeteners. Holy smokes. Well, nutritive sweeteners provide nutrients, and nutrients provide energy. Okay. So the nutrient here is carbs, and the nutrient is energy. And you can see here, it supplies about 4 kilocalories per unit. And so when you add up all that added sugar, and that's why it's listed on the food label, okay, to try to reduce the American consumption of added sugars, because that's one of the biggest culprits when it comes to excess calorie consumption. And you can kind of see, I give some examples here. I'm not going to necessarily ask you these specific dates and years and who the heck is consuming what. It's just there to impress upon you how much we consume. In 2000, 2-year-olds, which is sad, on up, on average consumed 149 pounds of sugar in a year. God dang. In 2015, it actually dropped, which is amazing, because when it comes to our consumption patterns, it usually never goes down. In 2015, it was only 129 pounds. I haven't seen any new data yet. Right? But now in 2020, that's when they started to change. So you would hope that this number will continue to go down a little bit. Because in 2020, that's when they started really making a push to really show the added sugar, not necessarily showing how much sugar is in it, carbohydrate, but now it breaks down basically the nutritive, the naturally occurring stuff, and then it shows underneath that what has been added to it, and it's that added sugar that you really want to try to kind of lessen as much as you can. So what should you look for when it comes to these types of sugars? Here they are. Do you have to memorize them all? I was waiting for the dramatic pause for that question. No, you don't. I don't expect you to. But as you can kind of see, holy crap, there's a lot of them. Some of them you've probably seen before. Well, glucose, dextrose, yeah, we saw those on the slide. I've seen fruit juice concentrate before. I've seen honey. I've seen molasses, agave. I mean, you've seen a lot of these things. Brown sugar, raw sugar, table sugar, turbinado, which is raw, another name for it. Confectioner sugar. I mean, you've seen probably all of these in some form or fashion. You've probably never thought of it as thinking specifically it's sugar, though, and it all is. Some are a little bit less, and we'll get to some of these here in a second. Okay, but all of these are forms of sugar. And if you see those in that ingredient list, then it's got sugar. And this is what you want to try to do your best to limit as much as you can. It happens. Some occurs naturally. But if you can keep this down as low as you can, better positive health outcomes over the course of your life. Our second category we have here are called alternative sweeteners. Nutritive sweeteners have the full caloric load of carbs. Alternative sweeteners are less. Okay, as you can kind of see there, these are providing few or no kilocalories. And when you look at them on a food label, or I think I have maybe some, there may be some listed in the book. Some are around 1, some are point something, but they don't go usually don't go above 2. And these are your sugar alcohols, all right? That sugar-free gum that you're eating, xylitol, mannitol, sorbitol, You've probably seen those on the packaging of it. It'll actually say it if it's in there. These are those things that are your alternative sweeteners. And again, they're not fully absorbed by the intestinal tract, hence half of the amount of caloric effect. They also don't promote dental decay, so that it doesn't cause cavities. Another great reason to use these. The bad thing though, for some of us, when you chew a lot of sugar-free gum, it can cause diarrhea. So if all of a sudden you're like eating your favorite gum, or you switch this gum and all of a sudden, after a day or two, it's causing you to have a lot of diarrhea, more times than not, it's probably that. Cut back a little bit or flip-flop between brands or types of sugar alcohols, and that may help your situation. The last category we have sweeteners are your non-nutritive sweeteners. And these are damn near zero. The vast majority of them are aspartame has 0.1 or something like that when it comes to their caloric demand on you. But you can kind of see these are just a group of compounds that are intensely sweet. That's the key. And I am not going to ask you the intensity factor. At least I don't think so. I don't think I've ever asked it. But you can kind of see, holy smokes, saccharin. You've probably used that before. I mean, NutraSweet or Equal or Sweet and Low, Sugar Twin, Sweet One. You've probably seen Sweet Leaf. There you go. Truvia, Splenda. I mean, good gosh. I mean, you can see some of these are really super. Advitine, I don't think I've ever used it before, but god dang, it's 20,000 times sweetener than sugar. So does it take a whole lot to get that sweet taste that you desire and that you love? Hell no. Okay. And if you did, it would overload those taste buds, and it would really make it really nasty for you. So wouldn't, consider doing that. But all of these, for the most part, supply 0 calories. Okay, that's why they're called non-nutritive. No nutrients, no calories. Okay. The bad thing, or I guess the good thing when it comes to this, is they can and cannot be used for cooking. Okay. The only two that you can use to cook are stevia and sucralose. Okay. These two right here. Stevia and sucralose. These are the only two that you can use for cooking. If you use anything but these, so aspartame, saccharin, it just makes your dish black. It just renders it unedible. Okay, you destroy the structure, the chemical structure of it, and then just ruins the dish. So it'll turn black. So don't do it. Okay, so those are heat stable. That means you can cook with them. Let's see here. Let me pause this just for a moment. Are non-nutritive sweeteners good for you? Sure, they're not bad at all. Okay, again, they help give you that sweet sensation, that sweet flavoring. Again, low caloric demand on you. You can make a dish very low calorie by using those. It'll probably alter it a little bit. You'll have to vary how much your directions call for that meal when it comes to using sucralose and stevia, because it's not a 1-for-1, it's different. So it will take a little, experimenting, if you will, when it comes to getting that right taste of the dish for you. Non-nutritive sweeteners been around for a very long time. Really, the only one that we really need to worry about is aspartame. And not everybody needs to worry about it, okay? Aspartame contains phenylalanine. And phenylalanine, for some individuals, is detrimental to your overall health. For those individuals who can't break down phenylalanine, because when aspartame gets in the body, you break it down into phenylalanine and aspartic acid. For those individuals that can't break that down, all that phenylalanine accumulates within the fat of your nervous system. So the brain has a bunch of fat within it. All of those nerves that make up that white matter that's in the brain, it's all fat that wraps around them. That helps to really speed up how nerves travel from one nerve to the next. When something's myelinated, it can travel upwards of like 200 miles per hour, which no myelin around it, it goes about 2 miles per hour. So this myelin, this fat, this insulation, holy smokes, does so many great things for the body. And for these individuals who can't break down that phenylalanine, they're referred to as a phenylketouric. It's called PKU, phenylketonuria. You get this accumulation within the fat, and then you get accumulation of uric acid within the body. Not a good situation. The body sees it, tries to mount an immune response against it when it's in the fat around your brain. And that can lead to, some very serious cognitive delays, which is to say some brain damage. How do you know you have this? Well, you take a blood test. Your mom takes a blood test to see if she carries it, has the disease. There's generally a lot of genetic testing with the baby then. If mom has it, or if the baby is suspected to have it, mom goes on a special diet. When that kid comes into the world, they go on that special diet for the first several years. And then that helps to reduce any cognitive damage that can happen to that little child. Some benefits for it, I don't know. It might make a good essay question. It might not. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. It just kind of depends on how I feel that semester. And so there are some great benefits for these non-nutritive sweeteners. I mean, they've been around for decades, so shoot, they have to have some positive to them. Weight control. If you're having trouble maintaining your calorie consumption, non-nutritive sweeteners can be a great way to help lose that weight, lower your caloric intake, help you to maintain your current weight. So from that standpoint, they could be fantastic. Help control diabetes. If you control your carbohydrate consumption, you can control your diabetes, specifically type 2 though, okay? It can't really help with type 1. Well, it'll help with type 1, but it can't help prevent type 1. It can help prevent type 2, okay? It prevents tooth decay. Okay? Xylitol, mannitol. Okay, there have been studies to help show that these non-nutritive sweeteners, and they're about dang near zero, can help to prevent tooth decay, cavities. And lastly, it just gives you that sweet taste, okay? It gives you that pleasant taste that people like. And so from a benefit standpoint, awesome. But there's got to be some drawbacks. And again, dang near 0 to 0, I mean, it could be very inadequate. And for a growing child, you don't want to necessarily limit their calorie consumption unless they are obese, unless it's been diagnosed as obesity, okay? Then yes, okay? Yes, you would want to, quote unquote, put them on a diet. I don't like using that word, especially with children, because it creates a lot of negative connotations with food, and you could tend to have some eating disorders as they get older. So you don't put a kid on a diet. You just get them active. Okay? Get them active, kind of control the amount that they're eating or what they're eating, okay? And you can fix that situation. Nutrition issues, again, if you use a lot of beverages with these in it, it could, potentially replace nutritious beverages like low-fat milk, and this is where if you see, someone drinking a lot of stevia-based sodas and whatnot, again, these just end up replacing water or milk or something that is more nutritious for the individual, okay? So again, this goes to a lot more to children than anything, but hell, that could be us as well. Instability issues. There's only a couple of these things that are approved for cooking and baking, okay? All the other ones totally destroy your foods. So it does limit, especially if you can't tolerate, those two only non-nutritive sweeteners for whatever reason, okay? So it does limit your ability to cook in a non-nutritive format if you don't like those two. The last thing on it, there are ADIs for all this stuff. This link right here is to the ADIs, the acceptable daily intakes. I don't ask them. It's kind of out there, and this slide right here kind of looks at it. These are your acceptable daily intakes, if you will. I ask it in terms of relating how a diet should be set up. I don't think I specifically ask you to calculate what your ADI for some of these non-nutritive sweeteners are, okay? You're looking at around 9 to 10 packs for saccharin for a typical 150 pounder. That's what that equals to. For aspartame, you're looking at around 17 to 18 cans is considered safe. You're like, what? Sucralose is around 6 12-ounce cans is considered safe. But again, don't confuse safe for should you do that. Saccharin has some calories to it. Sucralose, 0. But do you want to consume 6 cans of soda every day? No, that's going to fill your belly. You're like, okay, so what? You said it was safe, dude. Well, yeah, but now your stomach's full, and now you're not going to want to eat real food or drink more nutritious sources of water, milk, whatever. So that's what it replaces. So all I'm trying to get across here is, yes, you can consume a whole hell of a lot when it comes to some of these things, but it ends up replacing stuff that has nutrients in it. And if you're an actively growing child, then that really limits how fast you can grow, how great your bone density is, which sets you up for failure later on in life. Even as an adult, this can interfere with the amount of good, solid nutrients that you're consuming. So it makes you malnutrient in a lot of places that you may not be thinking of. That's what I'm trying to impress upon you. And there's a link to all this nonsense. It gets into the weeds with some of these things. So again, I don't necessarily ask a specific question asking you for 5 milligrams for every 1 kilogram of body weight. Well, how do you do that? Well, divide your weight by 2.2 and you get your weight in milligrams. Okay, I'm not going to ask you that. I'm just trying to impress upon you, even though it is considered safe, quote unquote, what does it interfere with? Okay, that is where this stuff can get away from you really, 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 really quick.